based on the recent mid-year economic and fiscal outlook released by the government, which stated that the 2014 budget remains strongly expansionary, with government expenditure overtaking revenue receipts and domestic financing becoming exorbitantly expensive, a view strongly supported in ANZ's latest review. The review argues that while the level of deficit spending is appropriate, deficit spending is likely to become more constrained as revenue appears likely to miss targets and domestic financing is becoming prohibitively expensive. If new sources of deficit financing or revenue extraction do not emerge soon, ultimately, deficit spending will have to stabilize at much lower levels than it is now. As a result, much-needed infrastructure spending will be delayed to later in the decade, and the allocative efficiency of the economy would be slow to improve. The fiscal balance is now expected to be 6.9% of GDP, up from an initial target of 5.9%. And if 600 million kina in state asset sales do not eventuate, the fiscal deficit would rise to 8.3% of GDP. The authors of the report say the time to consider a global bond issue is drawing close. As well as being a cheaper source of funding, a bond issue will provide exporters greater incentives to return to the foreign exchange market. Meanwhile, according to economist Daniel Wilson, who is also one of the authors of the report, the country is going through a current account deficit. This deficit, however, compared to the import-export deficit, is actually better for the country because it is an investment and savings deficit.
There's an identity in economics, which would be the current account. So your current account is equal to your exports minus your imports, but it's also equal to your savings minus your investment. So if you're running a current account deficit, it could either be from declining savings and holding investment constant, or it could be from rising investment and savings constant, rising, falling. So particularly with PNG, this current account deficit is coming from the investment side, where we're seeing much more investment, a strong pickup on the investment side. So we're seeing a positive deficit because eventually this investment will manifest itself in increased capacity, increased quality of the infrastructure, and eventually higher rates of potential growth.
Leanne Jarari, National EMTV News.